Hello. I wanted to come on here and make a quick video about toxic relationships. You know, I've never personally experienced a toxic relationships, but people in my family have experienced toxic relationships. Friends have experienced toxic relationships, and I got to thinking about it because the other day I was watching this show called Who the Bleep Did I Marry? And they had this guy on there, a black guy, and he was, and not to say I don't want to make it seem like, you know, gay couples or interracial couples or all black or white couples don't have toxicity. Yes, because they absolutely do. I'm going to talk about toxic relationship in general. I just never seen one to this magnitude. But anyway, there was this guy on there. He was a black guy, and he met this Caucasian woman, and they met in the mid 2000s. I think around, I want to say 2012. But anyway, he met her, I think, at a gathering or something. But anyway, they hit it off, and from the beginning of their relationship, you know, according to him, there were some red flags that he just chose to ignore because he loved her. But as time went on, things got progressively worse in their relationship. And when he was reconsidering the relationship, um, she found out she was pregnant with their daughter. So I think he thought deep down that maybe was a sign that, they should stay together. So he stayed with her. But things never got better. He talked about how one time they had a big argument, and she pretty much told him, um, if I call the police, you'll be the one going to jail. And he said, well, how you figure that? She said, because you're black. This is what she said to him. And he talked about how, like, he said that he would go to work and he would get off late, like 12 o'clock at night. And he would be pulling up in the driveway, and maybe 3, 4 minutes later, she would be pulling up behind him with their daughter, and he'd be like, why are you coming home so late? And she would tell him, oh, I was out running errands. 12 o'clock at night. But anyway, their relationship started to deteriorate, and they were pretty much just like roommates, kind of just like living together. And so he sparked up a relationship with an old girlfriend. And I'll say this, if you're still living with your ex in the same household, you should not be pursuing another relationship. Once you fully moved out and you separated and it's all on paper, then you can pursue another relationship. So he was wrong on that part. So he started talking to his ex, telling his ex all his problems, and she found out about it, and she confronted the girl, and they went back and forth, threatening each other. And so they both had to go to court. And while they were at court, she had their daughter on her hip, and she was fighting the other girl. So they charged her with child endangerment, and they gave her a year probation for that. So after that incident happened, the ex-girlfriend pretty much told him, like, I don't want to do with the situation. And she completely started talking to him, as she should, because he still was in a household with her, still living with her, and they were still legally married. So then some time went on, and he started talking to another ex-girlfriend. And, he was telling her all his problems as well, what he was going through and everything. She said, well, why don't you let me talk to her? And he said, no, because you're just going to make the situation worse. She didn't listen to him, and she reached out to her and tried to talk to her. So one day he came home from work, and his wife, because they were still married, was visibly upset about it. She was like, well, who is such and such? Again, I'm not going to say the girl's name. And the girl I'm talking about, too, if I haven't mentioned her name in the story, because she's the only one's name I'll mention, because you can go look her up. His wife's name was Shayna Sims, and this happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But anyway, his then wife, was like, well, you know, who is such and such? And he said, oh, that's just an old friend of mine, you know, da da da. And she was like, they got into an argument over it. And so mysteriously, that girl, his ex-girlfriend, the one he was talking to, the one he told all his problems about his marriage, 2 months later, after they started talking, she winded up dead from supposedly natural causes. Do I believe that? No. But anyway, she winded up dead, and he told his wife about it, and she pretty much was like, well, good. You know, that's what she deserves. That's what she gets. And, you know, just evil. And so he thought everything was over. You know, he didn't put too much stock into it. He just, you know, continued on. But I guess in her mind, it wasn't over. So the day of this girl, they had her repast. And she went up there, the wife did, to this girl's repast, all dressed up, covered up. She had on a black scarf, had herself all covered up. And she went to the repast and completely mutilated this girl's corpse. Completely. I'm not going to go into details of what she did. If you want to look it up, you can go Google it. Her name is, again, Shayna Sims. This happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma in like the mid 2000s. So after she did that, she decided to go to the girl's home where the girl was living at before she passed away. And the girl's relatives were there, and she told them some kind of lie to get inside the home. And when she got in there, the relatives got suspicious, so they called the police. So the police came and they arrested her, and they connected her to the girl's body being mutilated. They connected the dots, and they found out that she was the one who did it. So she went to court for it. She got arrested for it, got convicted. She was sentenced to 16 years. But here's the catch. They have a law in Oklahoma called the McGirt Law. And you can go also look this up. It's basically a law that says if you are Native American, if you are Native American, you cannot be prosecuted by the U.S. government. Or nobody. And if anybody commits a crime against you, they can't be prosecuted either. So what she did, she found out that the girl had Native American blood. So she used the McGirt Law, and after only serving 4 years, she got out. Yes, she got out, and she was, released. And she contacted him. He had sole custody of their daughter. And so she contacted him, and she wanted to see their daughter. And the daughter wanted to see her. That's the only reason why he allowed her to go. So he allowed her to go over there. But when the little girl went over there, her and her mother started fighting because she was living with her mom when she got out of jail. Her and her mom started fighting. And the little girl wasn't used to that. She wasn't used to, chaos. So she told her father, I don't want to go over there ever again. So he did not allow her to be around her ever again. But some time went past, and there was this guy, a white guy, who had found out that Shayna had got out because of the McGirt Law. So he had assaulted some Native American children. So he tried to use the McGirt Law to try to get out for it. And so the prosecutors took it to the Supreme Court, and they didn't allow him to get out. And he was like, everybody was like, well, what about Shayna? She got out, So then they took her back to court, to Supreme Court. And they locked her back up to do the remainder of her 12 years. So currently she got out, I believe, in 2017, I believe it was. I'm not mistaken. And they locked her back up in 2023. So she is now locked back up, thank God, to serve the remainder of her 12 years. But yeah, I know I'm making the story. There's a lot that I left out. I just wanted to come and make a quick video. But like I said, you can go look this up. Her name is Shayna Sims. This happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But if you would have watched the story, because I saw it on Who the Bleep Did I Marry? I don't know if I mentioned that earlier. If you want to, watch that episode, because there's way more to it than what I just explained. But I've seen a lot of toxic relationships. But this one right here just blew me away. It definitely took the cake. And like I said before, you guys got to be very careful on who you get involved with, and especially who you bring around your children. You might give your children memories that could affect them all the way into adulthood. I just want to put out the warning. Please be careful of who you bring around yourself and around your kids. But I just wanted to tell that quick story. And yeah, that's it. I'm out.